What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the pod at the Palace, or officially the pod in the portal, because we got a splash. Finally. Man, we've been waiting on this. It feels good to actually have something happen. And here we are. Josh Cohen, the UMass forward who visited a little bit earlier in the week, has officially announced his commitment to Arkansas. The Musselman-led Razorbacks are on the board. Man, there you go. We've been kind of waiting around all day wondering if this was going to happen, when it might happen, and finally it pops. And man, like, shout out to Josh Cohen for doing this as a good time. Like, we can still be home in time for dinner.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to make a Good Friday joke, but it was a Good Friday for Arkansas basketball. Like, just Curtis, like, honestly, it felt like for a good while today, like we were just monitoring the latest guys that Arkansas was going to contact. We didn't even know if we were going to do a show.
Yep.
And then, Cohen said he was with it, and we're with him. We're with it too. Happy to have him on board. Like this, I was really impressed with him the other day when we talked to him, and I think Arkansas fans are really going to like him. Yeah,
me too. The only thing about it, and I'm just being honest here, like this makes me feel like I'm going to have to up my swag and my drip a little bit. Like we've talked about the wrist work,
we're
man.
Wristless around here.
Like I'm gonna have to, like I've got no accessories right now. And honestly, like the way he was wearing that watch, like I don't even think I can get away with an Apple Watch anymore.
Hey, here you go. I'll do something. Here we go.
Yeah, get the chain going a little bit. No, like Cohen's a good dude. Like I really think that the Razorback fans are going to enjoy him. He was a pleasure to talk to, and I know we've mentioned it on a show earlier in the week, but everybody's a little bit different in terms of how they handle recruitment and media and everything like that. And it was kind of a breath of fresh air, honestly, just in terms for us to be able to go in there and not only get an opportunity to talk to him for a little bit, but he was just so open about it. He was like, "Hey, you guys want to sit down and chat?"
Yeah.
And you rarely get that. And he was open, he was honest, and just a really sharp, mature dude. And I think he's going to bring a lot to the locker room in terms of being a good teammate and being a good leader. And we'll talk about his game in a minute, but I was just really impressed with his personality.
Yeah, I was too. And he, we've talked about his swagger. Like his wrist has always got some action.
That thing's thinging.
Nice chain game based on what I've seen on his Instagram. And yeah, I'm excited about what he's going to bring on the floor. But the thing that I came away with the other day was just like how sure of himself he was and confident. And he just he's very comfortable being who he is and being his own person, playing his own game. I think Arkansas fans are going to, if they don't already appreciate him, they're going to grow to appreciate it. And Josh has been, he's been pretty active on Twitter since his commitment.
Love that.
He responded to you under your link to this live stream.
Oh, very good. There we go. Yeah,
we always appreciate that.
You need to be a guest on the show here ASAP, my man. Got to get you in here.
And he put his college basketball scouting highlight tape,
which is a good video to watch,
in a separate tweet. So go get familiar with him. 6'10", 220?
Yeah.
Forward. It's going to bring some good things to the roster.
And he's every bit of that 6'10", 220.
Yeah,
and I know we talked about that after we saw him on his visit. A lot of times, like you take a lot of that with a grain of salt, especially at mid-major programs and stuff. Like, listen, I coached NAI basketball for a long time. Like, if you were 6'6", you're 6'8" on my roster.
Yeah.
If you're 6'8", you're 6'10" in shoes on my roster. No, he's 6'10", maybe a little bit taller than that, honestly. Mm-hmm. So good to see. You like that kind of size. Arkansas obviously has kind of a bare front court. So this is a great addition. I mean, you look over at on3.com and their recruiting rankings, and they got him as the number 5 available center in the portal right now. We talked about how there were over 1,300 guys in the portal between D1 and D2, and only 42 of them qualified as centers. So not many, and you get a top 5 one this early. That's a good thing. I saw Jeff Borzello over at ESPN.com had him as the number 13 available overall.
There you go.
Player in the portal. So
that's Arkansas with a lot of kids that are on NCAA tournament teams in the portal too.
Yes.
And he's still considered to be well up there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we're talking about a guy here he scored over 1,600 points in his career. He's had multiple 40-point games. Like you said, he can go get it. He can go get some buckets. So you think about some of the things that Arkansas is going to be replacing in the front court. I think about from an offensive and scoring standpoint, think about the kind of pop that you had with Jalen Graham. And there's some differences in their games, but there's some similarities there too in terms of you can put him on the block and dump it in there and let him go to work and they can get you a bucket. Yeah. And that's the kind of guy that you have here with Cohen. He showed some range this season. That's a part of his game that's developed. Knocked down more threes than he ever has and shot it at a decent clip there. So a nice piece, and he's a smart player, man. I mean, Musselman really enjoys those guys who can operate in dribble handoff, can operate in the ball screen, have some sense in terms of short rolling. He's going to be able to provide all those things. I think he's going to be a good fit. You think about, how do they really utilize the back to the basket bigs? Well, we've seen some of that in the past, but that's not all Cohen can do. I actually think he's going to be a really nice fit here as a passer, a facilitator, and a guy that can throw it into and let him score. For sure.
And, you mentioned the Jalen Graham, scoring pop that he could provide. I think that is really accurate. One thing that when I reached out initially to the Pedro Soares kid that covered Josh at UMass, he gave Josh a lot of credit for being a guy who, in his first 3 years in college at St. Francis, he only took 2 threes, and he missed them both. But he gets to UMass, and then he goes 11 for 32, which you're probably thinking not a lot of volume, not a ton of makes. But that's pretty solid for 6'10". And 11 for 32, by the way, almost 35%.
Yeah, like he's shooting about one per game. And good shot selection.
A 35% 3-point shooter at the 5 spot is pretty solid. And if you want like some context for that, that's about twice as many as Chandler Lawson put up last year. And that's exactly what we wanted Chandler Lawson to do, was put up about twice as many as he actually did. Yeah. But I think Josh can bring some of that too. Yes, no, that's exactly right. I 100% agree with that. I feel good about this one. I think it's going to be a good addition. I do think that people are going to enjoy watching him play. And the numbers speak for themselves. And you think about where he's coming from, and a mid-major program. But listen, UMass, it's a school that won 20 games this season. They finished in the top 4 of the Atlantic 10. The A10 is arguably, it's one of the top 2 or 3 mid-major conferences in the country. You think about Dayton coming out of there. You think about what Loyola Chicago's done. Yeah. Duquesne, who won a game in the NCAA tournament. So a lot of good programs in there. In that league.
Yeah, and they were top 4 and won 20 games. And if you go look at Ken Pom in their player rankings in that league, and he's a top five player in that league. And that doubles down off of what he did at St. Francis, which put up a lot of numbers. When we talked about it, he scored 1,600 points in his career. So a nice get for the Arkansas Razorbacks. And just to look at some of his stats from last season, and we said it before, but I'm going to say it again. I got to throw it in here. Like, coached by Frank Martin, dude. Yeah. Like if you can handle that, you're a guy who can handle coaching and some tough love, and that's exactly what I think Arkansas needs here. But 15.9 points, 6.8 boards, 1.7 assists per game, 54.4% shooting from the field. That's efficient. Nearly 70% of the charity stripe. Not bad there for a big man. So it's nice. We got another Jersey guy on the roster, right?
For
so
sure.
There you go.
For sure. Yeah, I see a comment here from Brooks Jones. Does he have winning DNA? I'm going to read a quote from and if you listen to the interview that we did with Josh the other day, you probably heard it. But one thing that really stuck out, if you have a question like this one here, Josh said, "Ever since I've become a leader and become a captain, my teams have won. So especially this year at UMass, we won at a high level, and I don't plan on stopping that. Wherever I go, I want to win and do anything that it takes." And so he's played for Frank Martin, about to play for Eric Musselman. Those two guys are winners. Yeah. I love this. I love this. This is a really good first splash. And I think, I remember we were talking the other day about, you said that you like to have that first visit because you don't know if it's going to get to that second one sometimes. Yeah. Seems to me like Arkansas made a heck of a first impression.
I'll say.
And that's why I think it's another reason you like to have that first visit is you get to make the first impression.
Yes.
And I think their pitch must have really hit home with it, man.
No doubt about it. Yeah, and that's the one thing, like, the entire conversation that we had with him, the vibes we got, from the Arkansas side, felt really good about it. But the only thing is I was like, but he's going to Notre Dame the next day.
Yeah.
And listen, say what you want about Notre Dame as a basketball program. They've had a couple rough years here. We know how that feels at Arkansas, but they got a really good coach there in Shrewsbury. And even just looking at some of Josh's Instagram posts and everything like that. I mean, nice facilities. It's a beautiful campus. And so, again, I think you're right. Arkansas made a really good impression there. You talked about that winning mindset and just kind of the competitive nature. It's interesting here from Arkansas, getting another New Jersey kid is big. I think it helps Caliph want to stay. I don't know about that, but it is interesting that you kind of think back to some of the the post games we would have with KB throughout the course of the season. He would talk about how similar him and Muss are in terms of their competitiveness, their will to win. And I think that's really what kind of created a bond between those two. And just Josh really, he really exhibited a lot of those traits when we were talking to him.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like he said, everywhere you go on a visit, they'll talk about, we're trying to make the NCAA tournament, this, that, and the other. But that Muss was very much, no, I'm trying to get back to the Elite Eight and beyond, back to the, trying to get to the Final Four. We're trying to do huge things here. And then everything that Josh talked about was very similar. Like, I don't care. It's like whatever coach says, that's what I want to do. If it puts us in a position to win, that's exactly what you want to hear from guys. And that's how you start to build some camaraderie around the team. And going back to what we said about him being, a locker room guy as well and a leader, because that's another thing he said to us. And just, a very sharp guy in terms of, hey, I'm feeling everything out. I'm weighing my options. I'm seeing what these places have to offer. And then, I'm going to make my decision. Once the decision is made, that's when the vision starts to come to fruition. How can I lead in the locker room? How can I contribute the best to winning? I don't know. I don't know. We're going to have to talk to him. I don't know if he was coached up on those responses, but it was pretty damn impressive. I got to be honest.
For sure. I think Josh, to me, comes off as a guy that, spent his first 3 years at St. Francis, probably had some team and individual success, had probably some more team and individual success, and he definitely, not saying he was a solo act, but, an all A10 first team type guy. So he, contributed from his standpoint to a team winning. And now I think he just, wants to take that next step and try to do it on a bigger scale. And SEC and at Arkansas is a good place to do that.
Yeah,
and like that, the SEC that's like LSU today got a Cam Hunter. There are some schools like Florida who are in on, like Kentucky and Florida are in on guys like Big Cliff that you've talked about too. So he's going to be playing some heavy hitters next season for sure. And
something tells me that part of his reason for committing to Arkansas, and he told us flat out, like, Muss was a huge part of that. And so again, like for all the, the question marks and all this crazy stuff that's been, going on and speculation with Muss, they just landed a big time transfer. So enjoy your Easter weekend maybe. But who knows what next week will bring, but enjoy your Easter weekend, right? But in all seriousness, with Cohen, one of the things he talked about was like he hears people who might rag on his game or doubt his game a little bit. And I think there's a part of him that embellishes, the idea of the challenge of playing in a different style. Like the SEC, it's known for its athleticism and their pro prospects and the length. And he's going to be able to kind of challenge himself against all those kind of guys.
Sure.
And I just have a feeling he's not going to be a guy that you outwork. And it kind of takes me to the next point, which we want to talk about what he brings to the Razorback as a player. And his game is unique, and he knows that, and he understands that. And we've talked about it a ton because thankfully, we had a pretty good hunch that he was going to be a guy that Arkansas was heavily pursuing. So we were out ahead of it a little bit. But at the end of the day, no. Is he the most athletic guy in the world? No. Is he going to rise up and dunk it on your head over and over? No. Is he the fleetest of foot? No. But is he very skilled and very smart? Does he understand angles? Does he know how to create space and get his shot off? Does he know how to be effective, which was the brilliant title in your story? Yes, he absolutely does. And if he didn't, we wouldn't be seeing what we've seen from him in terms of statistics. And if you're wondering about the level of competition, he's done it consistently over the last couple of years against every high major opponent he's faced.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's I'll reach out to a lot of folks that have covered the kids that Arkansas has contacted. And Pedro Soares, he gave me a lot of really good insight, and some of it
Shout out Pedro.
Some of it I put in the transfer portal big board, just in that player insight section. There was a paragraph that he sent me that I did not use, and I wanted to save it for either a commitment story or this show, this podcast. And I saw somebody already I think it was Sharkensaw in the comments, said his passing ability reminds me of Jokic. That's exactly the path I'm about to go down. He said, this is Pedro writing this, as for what he was like to watch, honestly, it was perplexing at times in a great way. I always said he had a ton of Nikola Jokic in his game, a big-bodied center who can step outside and pass, uses his frame well in post-ups, has amazing footwork, and is extremely skilled at finishing at the rim. And some of the shots he'd put up into the hoop were just, pretty unbelievable at times. But yeah, I think you can listen, not saying that he's Nikola Jokic.
No,
like,
of course
nobody
not.
on earth is Nikola Jokic, but
Right.
there are aspects of his game that are Jokic-like, kind of the unorthodox nature of, sometimes of the way that he gets shots up. And I think passing is another way, that they're similar and, away from, the unorthodox nature of their games. But, and Eric likes to utilize big guys at the pinch post, at the elbows.
Loves it, man.
Yeah, and I was watching some film of when Josh was at St. Francis. He's got a nice little elbow jumper.
Mm-hmm.
He does, and I would probably anticipate that he utilizes that at Arkansas too.
Yeah, and if you're wondering about him, defensively, that was one of the things there that was included in those comments, where early in the season, like, Frank Martin was very critical in terms of his pick and roll defense, his ball screen defense, but he got better and better and better as the season progressed, and then he was equally complimentary down the stretch of the season on how much he'd improved.
Yeah,
and became an asset there. So that's a good sign. And, like, listen, is he going to be switchable and be able to guard 5 positions? No. Is anybody else that they're going to get in the front court going to be able to do that? Probably not. Okay? So understand what you're getting here. And with big men at a premium, I just think this is a fantastic get. And do I think that Josh is going to be the next, Zach Edey or Donovan Clingan or whatever? Probably not. Don't tell him I said that. But is he going to be a very valuable contributor and a piece that I absolutely think is going to be a key cog in the rotation for Arkansas? You bet your ass I believe that. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a great start for Arkansas, and I think he's going to be a very valuable addition to the team for sure.
Yeah, I do too. I can't understate, like if you can play for Frank Martin, man, there's not many coaches in the country that you can't play for.
This is true.
And Eric Musselman's another one of those guys who is very, very, very extremely demanding of guys on the defensive end of the floor, contrary to what you may have thought, late last season when Arkansas was just in shootouts with everybody. But I just have a hunch, like, after, Eric dissects the previous season, identifies what he wants in the portal moving forward. And I think Josh has got a lot of ability and potential on the defensive end, and it might just be, just being really solid, hold your ground guy in post-up defense and defensive rebounding. Like, it might not be taking charges like Jalen Williams or blocking shots like a defensive player of the year candidate, but it's just a guy who's just really solid defensively, who stands out, for the right reasons and not all the wrong reasons, which could get you sent to the bench. So really good first piece in the portal. I'm excited about Josh.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. And Josh, if you're still listening, I'm putting you on the spot. We got to get you on the show next week. Like it just has to happen. I will be messaging you after this, and we'll make it happen. But in all seriousness, though, I think it would be really good. And like I know a lot of people enjoyed listening to the interview that we had after his visit, but I think we need to get him on here and let him show that personality a little bit. I think Razorback fans would really enjoy him.
We'll have our watches on. We'll pop the chains.
Yeah, we got. Yeah, I mean, you got to give us a couple days to figure some things out from that standpoint. we gotta get the drip right. But no, and then fairly enough, the next question obviously is okay, great. Like first splash, it's taken care of. What could be the next domino that falls for Arkansas? And the answer is it could be a little bit of anything. We know that they got plenty of needs, right? And listen, you still have 4 guys who are on the roster or whatever, like who haven't announced anything one way or the other. Tremont Mark, Caleb Battle, Trevin Brazil, and Bay Fall. For those guys who they want back or have an odd, a feeling that they might be able to get back, you continue to work on that and see what you can get. And I know KB's been posting a lot of different stuff lately. He gets us, man. Like he's so active on social media. Like he even this morning, he kind of woke me up. Caleb Battle, congratulations for being my alarm this morning.
Yeah, you retweeting Caleb was actually my alarm.
Yeah, because he's popping off these tweets like before 7 o'clock in the morning. And obviously, I've got his noties on because we're kind of waiting to see exactly what he's going to do. I think he's probably going to test the waters and then maybe figure out if he's going to return or not. But yeah, he's putting out all these tweets about just feeling blessed and everything like that. And I'm just like, this is great. I'm going to retweet it, but damn it, like
yeah, come on, man.
But I know Arkansas would love to have KB back. We talked about Tremont Mark the other day, just in terms of. He's kind of retweeting the Arkansas Edge stuff and the NIL stuff. And I'm like, if I knew for sure that I was going to be out of here, I probably wouldn't care about doing that. So
exactly.
That tells me, and it's just connecting dots, that maybe he's at least considering a return. And after some of the things he did this season, like you would love to have that. So we'll see. But obviously everybody's excited about the transfer portal and what could be to come there. And I think you got to just continue to look at several of the guys that we've identified in the past here as priorities. I think about our Darlinstone DeBar at Hofstra, a guy who's a top 20 transfer, 6'8", 210 pounds. We've talked about it. He's got kind of a weird release on that jumper. Pulls it out of his left pocket, as Scottie likes to say. But, man, 40% three-point shooter the last couple years, and he gets it done in volume. He would be a really, really nice addition. I know that they've been working on a visit there. I think that would be a pretty good place to start. But, yeah. I mean, you keep on thinking down the line, like Keyshawn Hall out of George Mason. We've got him listed as a Justin Smith build because he's 6'7", 230 pounds, which is essentially the exact same measurements. He's got a lot of that in his game where he'll post up, face up. He's pretty crafty around the rim, but he can operate on the perimeter a little bit too. Knocked down, 40-some-odd threes this season.
Yeah,
got a little bit of Audi's Tony to him as well out of George Mason.
So
they had
Justin Smith build with an Audi's Tony type game.
Yeah, there we go. You guys like the sounds of that?
Yeah,
I think that sounds pretty good, right?
Absolutely.
And they had a Zoom with him today, and I'm told that happened and it's concluded, and the entire Razorback staff was involved in that. So,
always good when the whole staff is involved.
That's always a good thing, right? And you keep going down the list. Like we know that Arkansas has been prioritizing guys like Tyron Lawrence out of Vanderbilt, a 4-year guard in the SEC who should be on that board somewhere right behind you.
Yeah, just the other side.
Yeah, Malik Dia out of Belmont, the big fella, 6'9", 240, who can step out and shoot threes. I mean, you can continue to go on. Deshane Montgomery, a guy that we haven't talked about much this past week, but we know that Arkansas went out to see his dad. Went out to see his dad last weekend in Florida. And this is a guy who was a conference rookie of the year at Mount St. Mary's. Tough player, 6'4" guard. Just name after name after name that can continue to be a possibility there. And the exciting part about it, if you're Razorback fans who love portal season, they have no choice but to add a ton of guys here. Yeah. Like they have no choice but to add about 8 to 10 guys. Yeah. It's just the way it's going to be. So it keeps on cooking, man. I'm pretty excited about the possibilities. What I will say though, and I'm glad that they finally had something pop here because you know how it is. Like we've been hearing for probably the better part of a week, like on some different people, but like, hey, keep an eye on this one, keep an eye on that one. And that's great. And some things haven't come to fruition. Some things might be just a little bit of waiting time in terms of logistics. But at the end of the day, what I will give Arkansas credit for is they're not making any rushed decisions. They're not being reactive to some things that are going on in the portal.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that from them. And the other thing I know is they're placing a premium on doing deep dives, background checks, and just making sure that the guys who are their priorities are fits and high character guys who are going to be able to have the best opportunity to come together and play as a team.
Yeah.
And so in terms of timeline, does that make things drag out a little bit longer? And maybe you'd like to have 2 or 3 guys right now instead of just one? Sure. But will you be more pleased with the end product if they go that route? I think you probably will. And I think that's smart on their part to remain patient and be thorough and maybe add an extra layer to what they're doing in terms of the recruiting process here.
Yeah. And like these last 2 weeks, man, they've been kind of added free time that they have where they're not where the staff's not focused on games. It's probably just foreign or new territory, but using it to their advantage to do those deep dives on guys and just make sure that the guys that they're contacting and getting on campus or whatever are real fits. Really going to be impactful for them. I think also the next step in the portal, and Arkansas staff may disagree with this, but you got to make sure that JP Pegues doesn't wind up at Auburn.
Yeah, you do definitely have to do that.
And South Carolina, like he might just be Michie Johnson's replacement at South Carolina. Yeah.
Well, in Arkansas might just get Michie Johnson,
or he could be Aiden Holloway's replacement at Auburn.
That's an upgrade.
I would, definitely. You would hate to see it.
Yeah, you would hate to see it.
What do you think would be next? Like if you had to put your prognosticator goggles on, is it like a wing or like a floor general type guy next potentially?
Well, and let me start by saying this. Arkansas has landed a transfer forward. They are not done in the front court. Not by any stretch of the imagination. They're going to add at least a couple more guys in the front court. What do I think is next? I would probably lean towards a big wing who kind of fits that mold of what Muss said over and over and over, what they might be missing.
Yeah, they need that wing length.
Wing length. Yeah, and so we've already talked about guys like Dubar.
Man, he started saying that back in the Bahamas, dude.
Exactly. I think that's going to happen. They're going to add more than one of those guys, but that might be the next move. But I really do think that priority or maybe the biggest key, I think it's so important that they get a true point guard and floor general. I know they're talking to a lot of combos and guys who can shoot and create maybe at that off guard spot and you can put the ball in their hands. But I really think that they missed a true point guard this season who can be a table setter and distribute and get guys involved when you just have a brand new roster and so many guys who like mouths to be fed and guys who are trying to get assimilated into their role. You got to have somebody who can put them in those spots. And I think they missed that this year. And it can, and it doesn't have to be, the home run kind of guy. It can be the Jalen Tate type of guy.
Yeah.
Who just understands the importance of getting, all 5 guys operating in sync. And I don't know who that's going to be, but they got to have one.
Yeah. We talk about a floor general or a real point or like a true point guard. Is Jalen Tate the closest that Eric's had to like a true point guard, but he doesn't fit like the true point guard mold? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that could very well end up being like a 6'4" version of Jalen Tate. Like it's probably not going to look like a traditional point guard.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, 100%.
Just based on past, like you've got like Jalen Tate, and then a couple seasons ago it was JD Note, who was, let's be honest, he was a shooting guard.
Yes.
In every sense of the word.
Yes.
And it's just not like traditional point guard. So I don't. They could go out and get that guy, and he could end up being like their guy who brings the ball up the floor. But based on what I know, dude, I don't expect it particularly to look like a 6'2", 180-pound kid.
Oh yeah, for sure. I agree with that 100%. I mean, you mentioned JD Note. If you think back to that year, he did a bulk of the ball handling, obviously, because he's like the only guard on the floor a lot of times, unless they put Devo or Likes in. But Jalen Williams was kind of the floor general in terms of directing traffic and distributing and everything else. So and he was the center on that roster.
Yeah.
And so it could be any position, honestly. You would like it, I mean, ideally or whatever, like if you're building the stereotypical lineup, you would want it to be your point guard, but it doesn't have to be. I also wonder,
there are benefits to not having a 6'2", 180-pound kid out there and having a 6'4" to 6'6", 190-pound kid out there with a greater wingspan.
Absolutely. And I wonder, where is the exact priority, right? Because I feel like I keep putting myself on repeat, but it's just the way it is. Like, you think about those prototypes, and Muss is just like, I've never seen someone so love a 6'6", 6'7", versatile, switchable wing like Eric Musselman does. And you found something in your life, right? And so if he gets like 7 of those dudes and you just put them out there on the floor, he probably will. And I don't know if he places more of a premium on that over having a table setter or whatever. I don't know what that would look like.
Just prefers Martin twins over JP Pegues types, I guess.
Sure. And so that's the thing. And when I look at these guys who they're making contact with or whatever in the portal, and we're trying to figure out if they're serious or not, and maybe this will wind up being to our own detriment, and I wind up getting surprised here. But if it's somebody who's 5'11" or whatever, I'm just kind of like, probably not. Yeah,
it'll be your backup guard.
Yeah. So we'll see. And I also wonder what kind of premium, because I know they're probably going to go back to the OG ways of putting a premium on defense and toughness and physicality and all that. I wouldn't mind getting some shooters.
I think everybody would rejoice.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting some shooters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get a guy like Dubar out of Hofstra, and he can do it all for you. But I mean, I keep looking at a dude like Colby Rogers out of Wichita State, and I'm like, this man made 99 threes on the season, and he shot it about 40%. Like, I like the way that looks. Bryce Pope, even like out of UC San Diego, our guy, he's a friend of the show already, and he doesn't even know it yet. But a dude who 70 some odd threes over the course of a season. I'm big on the idea of getting some shooters and being able to knock it down and spread the floor.
Yeah.
Ideally, you get those guys and they can also defend, which I think was an issue for them this year. But I wonder what they add in terms of floor spacing this season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's tons of options. Like you mentioned, Bryce Pope and Colby Rogers. Like, Colby Rogers was over 40% from deep, and going through here. Through the contact list,
which just continues to grow.
And Aiton Wright from Drake, he's a guy that they contacted. He's 6'1", 185 pounds, so he's not exactly what you were looking for, but a point guard that can really shoot it. Tony Perkins is interesting. He's a guy that's got a ton of Big Ten experience. Can do a little bit of everything, defend, set the table for you. I'm going to be really interested to see maybe where they go next or what they prioritize in the very near future.
What do we think about a Tucker Anderson? I'm very intrigued by that.
6'9" give you shooter, man.
6'9" shooter who played high school ball at Bentonville West.
Yeah.
And was he the ASUN freshman of the year?
He was, yeah. Had a great coach, Greg White at Bentonville West, yeah.
And I get it, that's a huge step up, but I don't know. And so he's got 3 years left and is a local guy and got the length and can step out there and shoot it. Like, that interests me. And it's an easy guy to get on campus, right? For a visit,
Surely.
Check it out, talk to him. I mean, he's right down the road. So that's something that intrigues me there. I'm just scrolling through the list here to give people some other ideas, okay, like if we're talking about maybe a little bit of an undersized or shorter lead guard, also a friend of the board who is right over your left shoulder in the corner there, Frankie Collins.
Good one.
Out of Arizona State.
Really good.
Hit the portal. Arkansas has that Arizona State connection. They've been stealing gems from Hurley. They got Jalen Graham from there. So you already know those guys can ball. But we love Frankie Collins. Why? 13.6 points per game, fine. 4.5 rebounds per game for a 6'1" guard. So he'll go in there and mix it up on the glass. We like the 3.3 assist. 2.7 steals per game. That's what turned me on to him immediately.
Yeah,
is the dude is getting 3 steals a game.
13th nationally in steal percentage last season. He had 3 or more steals in basically half of his team's games.
Yeah,
that's unreal.
That'll do. Yeah, that'll do.
Especially when you're trying to get on the right track. Defensively, I feel like it starts in the backcourt, right? Because more often than not, guards bring the ball up the court. You kind of want to set a tone defensively in your backcourt. Yeah. Frankie Collins could probably do it.
Come on, Frankie. And it's just great. Something about the name Frankie I appreciate,
Yeah. I bet Josh Cohen knows some Frankies.
I guarantee you Josh Cohen knows some Frankies, man. And also, okay, by the way, just a little nugget here. When I think Josh Cohen, I shouldn't feel this way because I know he's a Jersey guy, and he played St. Francis in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
Played there, but then he was at UMass. For whatever reason, I just looked at him and I was like, this dude's a Red Sox fan. Like I just know he is. I'm told he's actually a big Yankees fan.
Is that right?
Like a huge Yankees fan.
Okay.
I'll let it slide.
That's some real insider stuff right there.
Yeah, I'll let it slide as a Cardinals guy. My wife is a big Yankees fan, so I've grown to just like accept it. That's fine, but it threw me off a little bit. I would definitely take him Yankees. He strikes me as more of a Yankees guy than a Mets guy.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I was like, oh, this dude's a Red Sox for sure. So,
yeah.
there you go.
I bet me and him could hit it off over our mutual love for Derek Jeter. Jeter was my favorite player growing up.
There you go. Oh, yeah. I bet.
How was he not your favorite player growing up?
Derek Jeter. Oh, man. The beauty of going live here is that we've got a bunch of comments, so I want to get to some of these. Some of them we talked about. The other ones we'll get to real quick. Bo just started us off like right away. Let's go. Yeah, it feels good, doesn't it? Like
and that's what I was going to say too, Curtis. Like just reading the comments, it feels like a Portal Splash is kind of, I don't want to say it's completely changed the vibes, but it's definitely upped the vibe. From like the feedback
it's
that we're
up
getting.
my vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have semi-breaking news. Eric Musselman has liked Josh Cohen's commitment tweet and another tweet about Josh Cohen on Twitter. So he has been active on Twitter today.
Hey, yo, you guys like that? I love it. All right. And I get it. Like the whole thing yesterday with the Eurocheck video was weird. All right. And especially the fact that, staff didn't, retweet it, whatever. I get all that. I understand it completely. Whether they knew about it or not, I understand all the speculation there. But the only thing I know for certain is that one, Hunter Yurchek's not an idiot. He's got a plan, and that Arkansas will be fine no matter what. Two, the recruiting has not stopped for Arkansas.
Yeah.
They've been going overdrive. We mentioned the Zoom with Keyshawn Hall out of George Mason earlier this afternoon. They just got a commitment. So while all this stuff is going on and people are speculating and wondering what's happening, I get it. Like I wish Muss would put out a tweet right now with his face on it, giving Hunter Yurchek a hug or something, whatever.
He could just save the photo that you tweeted of his face and then the bat signal with Cohen.
Yes.
He could just send that out.
Yeah, he could send that out. He could put Yurchek on the other end of it for all I care. Whatever he wants to do, I get it. I would love for that to happen. But I think you can take some solace and feel really good about the fact that those dudes are still grinding and they just got a commitment on Good Friday. Yeah. And that makes it a great Friday.
Hey, and maybe Eric's just like, I don't want to say he didn't understand before, but like Twitter can be pretty toxic, brother.
Oh, yeah.
It really can. And so I wouldn't say that there's a ton of need, like aside from, just the access to instant information or whatever. You ain't got to tweet a whole lot. Just like,
yep.
Just like some stuff, show you're active, I guess, if it makes that big of a difference.
Yeah.
But I did get on Instagram. He has shared Cohen's commitment graphic. So he active.
There we go. Boom. Done. Love that.
Or he's having somebody else be active.
Whatever. I don't
Doesn't
care.
matter.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Got a commitment. There we go.
I'm a big fan of the vibes going up.
It is not my birthday, but thank you. I appreciate it. It feels like my birthday because something good has happened with this basketball program. So that's a beautiful thing. We talked about the winning DNA there for Cohen. It's definitely something that means a lot to him. Kinley Rucker says, I think Battle is saying, I hope you're right. I think they have a shot there. And it depends on a lot of things. And, in terms of what his potential pro options look like. I mean, I think about a guy like Raynaud at Stanford, the 7-1 center, and he's in the transfer portal out of Stanford. Yeah. And you're hearing that he's already got 7-figure offers in Europe. And so if you're going to get him, you probably have to match or increase on that, right? Sure. As a grad transfer to a different degree. It's the same thing with Battle. And it's a cutthroat game. So I'm sure there are, schools back home that are looking at KB and saying, hey, maybe we could get this dude to come score for us. And there's also going to be pro options out there for him. So he's going to have to weigh that, see what the feedback looks like. But I think that'd be a guy that, if Arkansas, we've talked about it, if you can have that foundation laid down and you've already added a guy like Cohen, well, okay. You got a couple pieces you can work with right there. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll see what happens. I don't know that anything's going to come of that, anytime soon in terms of officially, but we'll see. We'll keep our eye on it. Alan Seedley says LUB. If you're wondering what that means, that's a shout out to Lindenwood Belleville, which is where I coach for many years. Alan was one of our first commitments at Lindenwood Belleville. Played for us for a couple of years, and then he joined the staff and coached alongside me there at Lindenwood for a couple of years. We had some great times, some awesome recruiting trips, and he gets it. Go Lynx! That. And also our arch rivals, Freed Harbin, just won the NAIA National Championship, and that wouldn't have happened if we were still at Lindenwood Belleville. I just want to throw that out there.
That's a fact.
Yes, Arkansas gets it. He played for Frank Martin. You have to have that to play for him. Yeah, you got to have something to play for Frank Martin. That dude terrifies me to this day. I've never met him.
Just because he's lost his hair doesn't mean he's lost his mind. The man is still very. He's still very, very, very demanding.
Yes.
Very.
Yes. Nick Lee says, what was Cohen's rebounds per game? 6.8.
6.8.
Yeah. 6.8. I think from a rebounding standpoint, you're probably looking at, in my opinion, better than Graham and probably Makai Mitchell-ish over the course of the year.
Yeah.
Kai got on this thing where he was just getting a double-double every game down the stretch of the year. But what did he average for the season? A little under 5, probably?
Makai averaged 4.6.
Yeah. So I think that might be what you're looking at. And it depends on how many minutes you play and everything like that. But, yeah. Corey Smith, good point. Free throws drawn. He's good at it. He is.
Yes.
And he's improved from the stripe, just a little bit under 70% there. And
he was 27th in the country this year, 6.7 fouls drawn per 40 minutes played.
That'll play, and it's because he's so he's really crafty.
Yeah,
you guys will watch that the video that he's tweeted out a couple times. You'll watch that, and there will be moments where you're like, "What the hell did he just do?" That's his game, man. Mm-hmm. It's not. It looks weird, but it's not. It's just what he does. It's unorthodox, but like he said, it's effective.
Yeah.
And he just finds unique ways to score, and he has to. That's how he overcomes, what other guys might have on him in athleticism or whatever. And, he's got some craft to his game for sure. And then also with Muss, I keep going back. There's a lot of examples of this, but Makai is the most glaring to me. When Makai Mitchell came to Arkansas, he was a 50% career free throw shooter. By the time he left, he shot 80% from the free throw line last year. And
yeah, so you got I got to the point where I was surprised when he missed at the line.
Exactly.
Late in the year.
And so a guy like Cohen, who's just a tick under 70%, I feel like that's a guy who's got a pretty good shot at continuing to improve on that. So
for sure.
That's good. Yeah, we talked about the Jokic thing a little bit. Arkansas gets it. I like Arkansas as a commenter here. Not saying it's a direct comparison with Jokic, but a super high IQ guy and a big has to have that good passer. It's got some of those characteristics that you need for sure.
I think Josh is like Jokic, going to be a guy that you'll watch him and just be like kind of what you just said, like kind of what was that? But the other team's taking the ball out of bounds and going the other way.
Yes, exactly.
It'd be
what was that? It was the ball falling out of the bottom of the net.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Kopesky says, so guys, who's next for Mustang Lane? We talked about it a little bit. Who's vital to turn this thing around and getting the fan base fired up?
I think it's a big wing that can shoot.
I think so too. I think if Arkansas is able to finish on Darlinstone DeBar, I get it. Like, you're going to be like, oh, Hofstra, whatever. I'm telling you, this dude is...
Don't act like Hofstra can't hoop.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Of all people here, a guy who covers Arkansas should acknowledge what Hofstra can do on the basketball floor.
And for people that just might not know, Darlinstone was on that Hofstra team that beat Arkansas in North Little Rock, and he had 11, 5, and 5 steals.
Yes. Yeah.
He wasn't even a featured guy on that team. It was literally Bebe and Aaron Estrada, who is now sadly in the Elite Eight with Alabama.
Yeah, about that. I'm going to be the biggest Clemson fan in the world Saturday, just for the record. Other guys I think you should get excited about, just thinking about the priority list.
PJ Hall.
Oh, PJ Hall's
putting
a baller.
Alabama out.
PJ Hall's a baller, bro.
Or that Clemson's playing Alabama?
They are.
Okay, yeah, PJ Hall. Pull for PJ Hall this weekend.
Yeah, PJ Hall's that dude. Malik Dia out of Belmont. I'm telling you, this dude is he gets it. And you might go back and look at his stats and see that he didn't play all that much against at Vanderbilt as a true freshman. He really, really blossomed so much at Belmont this year. He's big time, and I think he'd be a hell of addition and maybe a day one starter. We've talked about Tyron Lawrence and just the importance of experience, but also SEC experience.
For sure.
That could be a big one. But some of those guys under the radar, Scottie, I really like. I always go back to Deshane Montgomery.
Yeah.
We talked about him earlier, but out of Mount St. Mary's, he's just got some to him.
No doubt.
As a guard. And this guy who's a freshman who's only going to get bigger and stronger. He's one that really excites me. Who's on your radar? Who are some of these guys that they've been in touch with that you really like?
I really like Keyshawn Hall.
Oh, yeah.
And it might just be the Justin Smith comp that we actually both had, like you mentioned on the last pod that we
was
did.
electric, by the way.
Got some Audice Tony to his game.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in that because I think it takes me back to better seasons we had covering Arkansas basketball. But Darlinstone, for sure. Like when I reached out to get insight on him, I was told, he had the most NBA ready archetype that Hofstra's seen in quite some time. And you think about that, like how many pros is Hofstra putting out or whatever. But he's been coached well. Speedy Claxton, Eric Musselman connection there.
Yep.
He's just, and you almost can't turn down a kid that shot 40% from three,
Yes.
know. And,
yes.
If you're looking for like a prototypical point guard guy, I think you need to tell JP Pegues to not go to Auburn, and then you should look heavy into Frankie Collins.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm big into that. Like, You remember how impactful JD Notae was when he started sitting down and guarding folks and just being disrupted defensively, and then how electric he was on offense, dude. Like, not saying that Frankie Collins is JD Notae on the offensive end, but he's not. It's not like he's a 5 or 6 point per game guy.
Right.
Like he's pushing 14, 15 points a game, and he's picking your pocket, and he's setting the table for you.
Yeah, he can go.
He can do a lot.
He can really go. For those who. Cohen's such a great piece, but obviously you want to get another guy in there in the front court who is, bigger from a weight standpoint, physical, meatball, whatever you want to call him. Where do we stand on the Eddie Lampkin train from Colorado?
When he started doing this right here the other day in the tournament, not to say that I didn't know who he was beforehand because I knew we played at TCU, but I like the dudes that's like. They talk. I like dudes that talk. Yeah,
for everybody who's enjoying the DJ Burns ride at North Carolina State, go watch some Eddie Lampkin film.
Yeah.
And he might be the next version of that. And it means absolutely nothing. Like, I cannot stress enough, it means nothing. But those betting odds came out on, what was it, Bet Colorado or whatever. Yeah. And Eddie Lampkin, Colorado big man who was originally at TCU. Arkansas was third on that list of landing him in the betting odds. A lot of people thought he was Georgetown bound last year. with Ed Cooley going over there. He wound up at Colorado, but Arkansas was also a finalist for him. And so, I don't know. The thing about Eddie Lampkin is he's an interesting cat.
He is.
So he's a guy that's
he's 6'11", 265, and he is every bit of that. They might have slided him a little bit in the weight category.
Yeah.
Not going to step out and shoot the three, but he's going to, finish shots around the rim, rebound, and when he makes a shot on you or dunks on you, he's going to tell you about it.
You're going to know about it. And he was one of Eric Musselman's first offers when he got to Arkansas.
There you go.
So there you go. It goes back a little bit. So there's
That's a meatball.
Yeah, he's definitely a meatball. There's a relationship there. Sam Alexis out of Chattanooga, another big man that we've been keeping our eyes on as well, who averaged a near double-double this season.
William Kyle might be another name that I'm pretty interested in.
Big fan of William Kyle, South Dakota State.
Yeah.
The Jackrabbit, who had 88 dunks, which is second most in college basketball behind Zach Edey.
He basically Cohen size.
Yeah, he is.
6'9", and I think they got him listed 10 pounds heavier than Josh.
Yeah, he is. He's something else, man. And I saw earlier today, was he taking an unofficial to Nebraska?
Was he? Yeah,
I think that might have been. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that's what I saw. Whatever, that's fine. Get him down to Arkansas. We talked about off air yesterday. Just those Nebraska uniforms that those dudes are wearing on visits, hideous, horrible Adidas uniforms. Get him down here, put him in a Razorback jersey, get him. Yeah. What are we doing? Monday on Nebraska.
There you go.
By the way, if you're not following Tyler Glasscock, you need to do that. He's our new intern / colleague who's he's behind the scenes, but he's really been helping us a ton. In terms of keeping up with all this stuff. So much appreciated. Make sure you give that dude a follow.
Texas A&M and Wake Forest in-home visits today.
Yeah, like what's Buzz Williams going to say to him that Musk can? Who's Wake Forest coach? Come on.
I don't know.
Come on now.
I don't know. I don't guess I've known who their coach has been since Danny Manning.
Yeah, exactly. A few more here, and then we'll get out of here. Michael Kopesky says, who's next on the visitor list? Anyone? Weirdly, a little bit quiet, but I think it's been quiet on that front for different reasons. And what you have to understand about transfer portal is a lot of times these schools don't want people to know who they're recruiting and who they're prioritizing. And so unless a kid, leaks, hey, I'm visiting so-and-so this weekend, and it gets put out there, or if he puts it out there himself, you won't really know until maybe the visit's halfway over and you get tipped off. So maybe you can go there and catch them before they leave town. A little bit quiet on that front right now. I'm not buying it. Do not be surprised at all to hear some news on that front over the course of this weekend in terms of maybe a couple guys coming to campus. Remember last year, Arkansas had multiple guys in for that Easter weekend, and they got a Tremont Mark commitment on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
So if you believe in linking those kind of things, and maybe that's something you believe in, right? Let's see. What we got here? Slim Pickens, great name. How's Malik Dia and Tyron Lawrence looking? We know they're interested in playing together. I'm 10 minutes behind on the program. Well, I hope you listen for 10 extra minutes or however long it's taken for us to talk about this. We've mentioned both of them multiple times here. You're right. They are interested in playing together. They are also both priority targets for Arkansas. Tyron Lawrence has been doing a really good job of keeping a low profile. Been told by a couple different sources that the Razorback staff, or at least a coach, was out to see Tyron Lawrence. It's good. We know that's been the case with Malik Dia as well. Working on some visit stuff there. We'll see. But we do know that Dia is at least tentatively scheduled to visit Ole Miss April 12th through the 14th. If I was Arkansas, I'd just get that dude in here before then and have him go ahead and cancel that visit to Oxford.
Yeah. I think Tyron Lawrence is the type of guy that's, at least from the guard spot, is kind of right up Eric's alley.
Yeah.
If he's keeping a low profile during recruiting, that kind of gives me, I don't want to say entirely JD Note vibes in terms of just, you remember when JD was really blowing up and, he was like a Sporting News All-America type guy. It was really like Eric really was talking about how when he came on his visit here, he was just like, man, I don't really want to go eat anywhere. Like, you can just get me a cheeseburger and let's just watch ball.
Yeah.
Not saying Tyron is entirely like that because I don't know him. But the fact that he's kind of keeping a low profile tells me he's low to no maintenance. And that's, man, don't you love that in recruiting?
I like the way that sounds.
That would be ideal. And I think I don't want to say that like he's not going to come with his own demands in some form or fashion. It's just kind of the way recruiting is these days in the portal. But kind of like to hear that Arkansas is tied to guys like that.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Seen a lot of comments in here about Malik Dia. I get it. I'm excited about him too. Big Bobby Bones guy.
Yeah,
or Malik
sure.
Dia or
Bobby Bones really likes Malik Dia.
There we go. That's the way to say it.
For sure.
He commented on a post there. If you guys follow his what's it called? Too Much Access?
Yeah, Too Much Access.
Yeah, that he kind of goes around to some different programs and gets some one-on-one and some insight with coaches and players. He did that at Arkansas. He had Caleb Battle out there. It was really cool.
He gets personalities on that.
He does, yeah. And he did the same thing with Belmont, and Malik Dia was one of the guys. And just you see him play and you're like, oh, this dude can go. But then you listen to him talk in a format like that, and it just seems like a guy who would be a really, really good fit.
No doubt about
Bobby
it.
Bones, noted Razorback fan.
Yeah, he's got a Razorback helmet and got the state of Arkansas tattooed on him. Yeah, he's a big Arkansas fan.
Yes. Another one from Michael is Trezarian White in the portal. No, but he needs to get in there.
He's not, man. That may be one of my surprises of the first 2 weeks of portal season.
Yes.
I mean, that man could go get a duffel bag in the portal if he just slides in there for a couple of days.
Yeah. If you look close, like right on the other side of Scottie's head, you'll see Trezarian White on our board.
He's right next to JP Pegues. That's
right
how much
there.
I liked him.
Yeah. UNC Wilmington. What do you have on Arkansas? 27?
He had 28 points, 5 rebounds.
28 points, 5 boards.
Yeah,
on
that was
Arkansas.
the 106-90 game. It was where defense was very optional.
There was a good Wilmington team and a Wilmington team that won at Rupp Arena against Kentucky.
Sure.
6'7", he really fits the mold. So, yeah, if he does enter,
he is the prototype.
Yeah, he is that guy for sure. Let's see here. Yeah, Jalen Tate was solid, but Hogs need an elite deep threat sniper. Agreed. We kind of talked about that. It'll be interesting to see how much they prioritize getting some shooting added. Bill Beebe says we need another Mason Jones. Well, yeah, that'd be neat. Get another All-American who leads the SEC in scoring. I'll take that. That would be fantastic.
AP SEC Player of the Year candidate. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Tyler G says, "Sup guys, great Friday." Yes, it went from Good Friday to Great Friday. How about that? How about that? I absolutely love it. Tony Perkins. We got some Tony Perkins stands in here. We like him too.
I understand it.
Iowa point guard, 6'4", just very strong physical dude. He's probably one of the better point guards in the country that's available in the portal right now. We'll see. I know Arkansas likes him a lot, man. I've heard a lot of buzz about Indiana early on.
Yeah.
Obviously a Big Ten player there, so we'll see what happens.
I got some more insight I reached out to a couple people about Tony Perkins, and I got, actually when I pulled in today, I was literally parking the car and got an email about him. Isn't a great shooter, but he's a scorer and a facilitator, not selfish. Had 15 assists one game, 14 another. He's a gambler on defense. So we've kind of, from both sources that I reached out to, he's a gambler on defense. Sometimes that can be rewarding, and sometimes that can bite you in the butt. But takes over some games, fades out in others. Apparently doesn't like to be interviewed very much, but he's got a quiet sense of humor. Fran McCaffrey liked him, liked his personality.
There we go.
And he's not leaving Iowa under unhappy circumstances, so he's not a guy that's just leaving just because he's fed up with the situation that he's in.
For sure. Rob says barbecue sauce went wild last night. I don't know what that means, bro. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. I need more context, or maybe I don't. If you post weird stuff, we're gonna talk about it.
Barbecue.
I don't know what that means, man.
That's wild.
Oh goodness.
I did see a message that Kingsley said that he was a little bit under the weather, but he's still tuned in. Hope you get to feeling better, buddy. And
get well soon, brother.
Tuning in while you're not feeling great.
This is a good question here. Cole Phillips says, is Cohen a true 5 or can he play a combo forward role?
I think you would want him as your 5, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, not to say that he can't move his feet, but when athleticism is probably not your top trait, you want to probably have that guy not stationary, but, moving his feet in open spaces as little as you can, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And let like a more mobile 4 kind of handle some other things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. Kern Muckleroy says, is Josh Cohen coming to Arkansas? Yes. Welcome to the program.
Yes,
that is happening. Yeah, that is a thing there.
That's your Friday at 5 news dump.
Somebody asked or Leslie asked if we were going to the game. I'm not tonight. The LSU game. I wish I was, but it's date night for me and the wife. So
I might be on a date night with the lawnmower.
There you go. There you go.
That's twice that Mal has texted me during shows this week asking if I would mow. So I figure I need to do it sooner or later.
Yeah, I gotta get you out of here before sundown.
She's really trying to bring the vibe down.
Yeah, come on now. Great Friday, going back to mid Friday. What are we doing?
Oh man,
you got a push mower or a ride mower? I don't remember how big your yard is.
Yeah, it's a corner lot. It's a ride mower. So we'll be all right.
It's good.
The weed eating will be the most annoying thing.
Yeah, that's not.
But I'll have the baseball game on the TV outside.
There you go. Okay, I love it.
With the Sweet 16 games. She really wants me to mow instead of watch baseball and Sweet 16 games. We got to talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think probably some things you guys need to discuss. Wish you well with all that for sure. Speaking of wives that I'm going on a date with, Michelle says, if you heard his interview and looked at his tape, you should be excited. Let's keep the vibes positive. We're headed up, y'all. Yeah, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that. When did we put that episode out? Wednesday evening for Cohen?
Yeah, he left on Wednesday.
Yeah. It was a good interview.
Notre Dame was Thursday to Friday.
And I think there's a lot of value in reading. Please go read the stories that we write about it, with his quotes and everything. But yeah, listen to that podcast and you can just hear him. And I think there's something to be said for listening to somebody. And when you listen to Cohen talk, you hear a guy who has a plan and he's mature, smart, sharp guy who kind of knows what he's got going on.
Yeah,
there.
and you can there's conviction in things that he's saying. It's not like he's just saying it to say it. He says it and he means it.
For sure. 100%. We're almost to the end of the comments here, and we're almost at we're a little bit over an hour. So we
go
need
to the very last comment or next. Yeah, the last 2 comments. That's tough, dude.
Mal's in here. Yep, she's talking to you. She does love you though. She says she means it, and I believe that. I can tell. When I look at you two guys look at each other, I feel the love. You know what I mean? And just so you know, Mal, like every day when we're sitting in the office, sometimes Scottie will just let out a sigh, just a big. I'm like, what's going on, man? You good? He's just like, man, I just miss my wife. Just miss my wife.
I do say that all the time. All the time.
And so there you go. Now you're in trouble. Yeah. See, now the kids are mad. See, yeah, we gotta get you home. We gotta get out of here. The last comment, I'm gonna pull this over here. I don't know what it means. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's not. But Elle says Curtis has the most aura in Arkansas media. Factual. I don't know what that means. Maybe that's
hashtag true facts.
I don't know. But at any rate, man, a good way to kind of end the week here. I tell you what, I feel pretty good about going into the weekend on a commitment.
Yeah.
Like we said at the top of the show, we were very much in, man, we really hope that this happens before the end of the day so we can enjoy this and talk about it. Because otherwise, we would have been talking about what everybody wants to hear about. Oh, €100 checks, video, and is Musk going to U.S.? I'm just over it, man. And so finally, something popped, and I feel like we needed that. It's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think moving forward in future spring transfer portal times that we're in, we just need to expect like an Easter weekend pop.
Yes.
That's becoming two. Like, one is one thing with T-Mark. Two, it becomes a theme.
Yes. 100%. 100% agree with that. Any parting thoughts, Scottie, before we get out of here? We'll be at the football scrimmage tomorrow.
Yep.
That'll be cool.
Early.
I think me and Andrew are going to do a pot of that nature after that's over with. So
That'll be good.
We'll talk a little bit of ball, so that'll be fun. We'll have a lot of written content out there. And then, yeah, I mean, we'll just see what happens with this basketball program. Would I be surprised if something else pops over the course of this weekend? No, because that's what they do. And if it happens, we'll be all over it. And if not, we'll, talk to you guys on Monday.
Sounds good to me.
Good? Feeling good, fellas?
Yeah, man.
All right, we're out of here. Appreciate everybody. For Tyler, Scottie, Curtis, Natty State Sports, Pot to Palace, Arkansas got a commitment. We're rolling. We'll see you guys soon.